final memory of Michael is following through on that shot and making a great extension.
There's a storm coming.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
The days of criticizing LeBron James have come to a screeching halt. He is the greatest player in the game today. He has proven it, and somebody like me, I'm on the record with Dwayne Wade and others. It's official. I've got nothing to say about LeBron James.
As Michael Jordan plans his comeback, he's saying basically through this piece to LeBron James, LeBron, I am coming for you, and your one ring that you have and your 3 MVPs, I'm coming.
If you're a LeBron James fanboy, this is the quickest way to lose an argument and a debate using these redundant, stupid cliches that don't help you with your argument whatsoever, and it also proves that you have nothing to refute or combat the argument at hand when you say these stupid phrases as you see on the screen. I did this video last year, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, because I had to show LeBron James fans that, not LeBron James fans, but the fanboys, that these guys really don't know anything about basketball, especially when you saw in the beginning portion of this video the phrases that they use, the debates that I get into with these guys, and the way they sidetrack, go to other sports, other elements, and completely forget about the conversation at hand and get lost in another conversation because they couldn't refute your argument. They get lost in their own little world and don't realize that they completely went off track about the topic. And before any LeBron James fanboy come in the comment section to want to say, oh, LeBron James is not a bad person, why you gotta make this type of video, why you gotta bash him? This is not bashing LeBron James. We're going to acknowledge facts. I'm going to prove to you why Michael is on a different stratosphere compared to LeBron, and that's not knocking LeBron. You buffoons, you idiots, you pathetic, weak-minded fanboys of the LeBron James camp need to understand this. That this is not hating, this is not knocking LeBron James. The fact that we're comparing the two should say a lot about LeBron James' game, shouldn't it? But there's certain things where the wall cannot be knocked down when it comes to Michael Jordan and these LeBron James fanboys that are going completely out of control. You know, I'm not Denzel Washington in Training Day forcing you and setting you up with lies and deceit here. Or either am I a prophet of what's to come. I'm just showing you the factual evidence that why these guys' arguments fall on deaf ears. They have no substance, no value at all. Because we're going to look at a lot of things in this video. We're going to break it down analytically, deep, cover all layers. Because there won't be a corner for you to hide, you LeBron James fanboys. Especially the frauds that disappear when a situation looked dire. When they think LeBron had no chance of coming back and winning the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan is the greatest player because of what he did on the basketball field. Now, that's not to say that LeBron James isn't great as well. But the man continues to do things that other basketball players don't do. 45 points. 45 plus points 23 times. The second guy who comes in place has 8. Wilt Chamberlain, Allen Iverson is third, and LeBron James is right on that list. Once again, that's not knocking him because on that list. That's just showing you how impressive Michael Jordan is. And another thing that impresses me about Mike and LeBron as well, but mostly with Mike, is LeBron played more playoff games than Michael Jordan. But yet, Michael's numbers increase during the playoffs. This is something you cannot argue. This is something you cannot refute. This is something that you cannot damage control. Less playoff games, putting up those type of numbers against superior competition when Michael played. I don't want to hear he didn't play against anybody, because Mike played against more 60-win teams, more 50-win teams than LeBron James. Mike was dominant. Dominant. LeBron James is dominant too. But when it comes to the playoff, Michael Jordan became more dominant. And we're going to look at LeBron James' finals performances, because LeBron James fanboys like to leave out certain games. They act like the good games that he had are the only ones that exist. Well, I'm sorry, this happened against the Dallas Mavericks. 17.8 points per game. You can't deny that. That is unacceptable for a guy of his standard, a great player, a top 5. By the end, he might be top 3. And once again, that's a great accomplishment to LeBron James. But we got to look at the facts here. That one, I'll, put an asterisk next to, because it wasn't fair early on in his career going against that Spurs team. I will acknowledge that. So that one I will kind of take off the board. But we're going to look at, from here on out, his performances in the NBA Finals. Because you LeBron James fanboys love to subtract and add when it's convenient for your argument, and act like none of the rest of the history of the NBA Finals with LeBron James exist. I'm showing you facts. When he won, the arrow's right there. You can see his averages. And the reason I'm going to show you this, by the end of this portion of this segment of this video, you're going to be shocked once you see Michael Jordan's numbers. And please, don't give me you can't compare him, because LeBron James fanboys are the first guys that will post up something as soon as LeBron James does something Michael doesn't do. Like, LeBron is the only player in NBA history and in the NBA Finals to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Michael never did that. Well, Michael didn't have to do that, because he wrapped it up in 6. He didn't let it get to that situation where he had to play a Game 7. That's what you LeBron James fanboys love to do. You love to add things to make your argument or inflate it, and then subtract the thing that actually destroys your argument and makes it make no sense to begin with. It's just mind-boggling. You guys are sickening. And I'm not talking about the LeBron James fans, like good friends I know who will actually call him out when he doesn't have a bad game, and his team. I'm talking about the LeBron James fanboys who only align himself with a person, a man. And whatever team he's on, that's their favorite team. All of a sudden, that's their team. All of a sudden, they want to put LeBron holding up the trophy as their Facebook profile picture. The same guys that are obsessed with just his play and nobody else's. That's the guys that are sickening. That's the guys who are highlight fans. And that's the guys that I'm going to expose, who only look at a certain part just to make sure LeBron has no faults, to make sure LeBron is untouchable. Well, in this video, he won't be untouchable because he does have flaws. And we will be looking at him. We won't ignore them. We won't be a highlight fan. I'm going to show you the facts. There's nothing for me to hide in this video when it comes to breaking down the performances of LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Because it isn't that LeBron isn't great, it's that Michael Jordan is on another level of greatness. 6-0 compared to 3-5. Those are just the facts. I'm not making this up. We're going to look at Michael Jordan's NBA Finals performances. And just to let you know now, these are not NBA 2K16 numbers. These are real. This is real. Don't tell me Michael Jordan was just a ball hog when in 91 he averaged 11.4 assists. He can pass the ball when he wanted to. Just like you LeBron James fanboys tell me, LeBron can score 40 if he wanted to because he can, and we've seen that he can dominate a game. But don't tell me Jordan couldn't do it. It's right there. And also LeBron James fanboys love to bring up Michael Jordan's teams. Oh my God, they had the greatest team of all time. Correction, they had the greatest player of all time, and Michael made that team great. Now, I'm not going to say Michael did everything, but you guys get caught up with certain players, certain highlights that you see, and you try to use it in an argument and say, see, because of that highlight, that is the whole depiction of how that player was. Well, there you go. There's John Paxson's career numbers. And you can see the numbers that he had when he won the championship with the Bulls. Nothing to brag about. Oh, let's bring up Horace Grant. Horace Grant, he invented basketball. Without that guy, Jordan couldn't win. Yeah, I had some idiots literally say that. Horace Grant is a good, very good role player. And you can see his numbers when he was with the Bulls. Pretty good. Pretty decent numbers. There's nothing for me to hide here. Horace Grant is a very good basketball player. But you know, you got LeBron James fanboys that want to make him seem like he's the Hall of Famer. He's a top 50 greatest players of all time. He's a good role player, a very good role player. LeBron James had those good role players in Cleveland as well. John Sally. I had some guy tell me about how great John Sally was. John Sally was a utility player. A guy that you would put in a certain situation and he would perform for you. And he had to be on a team that was filled with great players so it can hide his weaknesses. And that's what happens when you play on a team with Michael Jordan. Steve Kerr. Literally had somebody give me Steve Kerr as, oh, Mike, you can't say LeBron is clutch when Michael Jordan makes the right play to Steve Kerr. And then they like to bring out how amazing Steve Kerr was. Well, there's his numbers while he was with the Bulls when they were winning championships. You can't damage control this. What I'm showing you is complete facts. I will leave the links in the description so you can scroll through the roster, the stats, and see. Ron Harper. And you know what's funny? A lot of these LeBron James fanboys don't even like to bring up Ron Harper, and it would actually kind of help their argument in a way. Because this guy could put up numbers, Ron Harper. Early in his career, this guy was putting up pretty big numbers with Cleveland. I mean, this dude was balling. LA Clippers. But later into his career, when he got to the Bulls, when they won that second three-peat, his numbers start to dwindle. because he was getting older in age. Still a fantastic defensive player, but he was getting older in age. And the number one thing that LeBron James fans love to post, love to show, is Scottie Pippen. The Scottie Pippen debate. Unreal. The Scottie Pippen debate. You know why it fascinates me? Jordan was drafted 84. Scottie was drafted 87. They didn't win their first title until 91. So this whole Scottie, Michael Jordan didn't win without Scottie Pippen, is bullshit. Complete, utter bullshit. He was there when Michael Jordan was struggling. He was there. He was a part of it. And it fascinates me how LeBron James fanboys always want to use him as a point of reference to say Jordan couldn't get it done without him, when in reality, Scottie didn't win one without Jordan. And this is Cleveland's best teams. LeBron James, Cleveland's best teams that he was on. And I like to look at those rosters, Michael's teams and Cleveland teams. These stats were very similar in terms of the role players that these guys were on. And I did this video a year ago explaining this, but I have to bring it up again because stop with this team thing. Because you can't say LeBron James is all great and all world when he brought Cleveland out of the scrums, but you want to discredit that when it comes to Michael Jordan and say, oh, all he did was had great teams. No. What you guys need to understand was when Phil Jackson got there, he helped Michael Jordan realize you have an abundance of talent, too much talent. And you need to use that to get your teammates open. You don't have to carry the burden. Only carry it when it needs to be carried. And that's what Phil Jackson got through Michael. You had teammates. You got guys open because of how good you were, how smart you were as a basketball player. LeBron James had pretty good players on those Cleveland teams. Teams that when he went against the playoffs that he were better than. Like I said, the Orlando Magics. They were better than the Magics. They should have beaten them. But LeBron James fanboys will damage control that. There's nothing you can damage control when the facts are presented to you. Not just with statistics, but by watching, observing. LeBron James is the greatest player in the NBA right now. He has been for the last 10 years, the last decade. And LeBron James always has an excuse from his fanboys when he does not get the job done. It's either he has no help, and when he does get the job done, he gets all the credit. And that's where I have a problem with these LeBron James fanboys, because those teams that LeBron James were on, especially Miami team, if you want to say when he was on Cleveland it was just all him, that's fine, even though I showed you proof how that went, but that's fine. Those Miami teams, those teams were better than some of the Bulls team if you look at the accumulated roster from bench to the starting five, other than, Jordan. You could make an argument for Scottie or Dwayne Wade. But far as like the Miami Heat team, that team was stacked. And for the life of me, till this day, I won't figure out how that Miami Heat lose against the Dallas Mavericks. But here's the flashing alarm. He needs help when he had a team that was loaded. Don't use that excuse when you have those type of teams. And the other thing LeBron James fanboys want to do is exclude accomplishments in the level of competition. Now, if we're going to get deep with it, the way the NBA played defense back then is vastly different from the way they play now. Now you're allowed to do a lot more zone, a lot more complex defenses switching off of man. Back in the day, you weren't allowed to do that. It's either you double team and leave your man wide open, and that was the end of it. But here what people forget. Back then, there were better on the ball defenders than there are now because there were better fundamental players. People get athletic ability confused with fundamentals. And as you're seeing on the screen, these are the accomplishments that Jordan did. And I showed this last year as well. But you can't leave these things out when you want to say, oh, LeBron is going to beat all his stats. What about these accomplishments? That goes along with the Jordan stats. They can't be excluded because they're a part of it. So is being a great defensive lockdown player. LeBron didn't get realized as a good lockdown player, 6-7 years later into his career? And that's not a knock on him, but Jordan always been a stout defensive player after his rookie season. And as I go back to the point I was making, the level of competition, you cannot knock what Jordan did against the level of competition that he played. Now, with this year, LeBron did something Jordan didn't do, was beat a 70-win team in the NBA Finals. And I bet you LeBron James fanboys will use that as some type of fuel to sway the argument. Well, guess what? Jordan was on a 70-win team that won a championship. So you can't just use that as an argument and say it's over. Michael Jordan is 6-0 in the NBA Finals. Those are the facts. LeBron James is still a great player. That doesn't take away that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, in the top 3, top 5 all time when it's all said and done. But you can't erase 3 and 5 in the NBA Finals. Another segment that I want to get to is highlight fans. These guys are some of the worst people you're going to go against, because highlights is what educate them instead of research, watching the game as it unfolds in front of you. ESPN to me is terrible. Flat out garbage. Hasn't been good in almost 10 to 15 years. But when you have highlight fans, when they want to bring up situations like when they go off topic, when you're talking about LeBron Jordan and they go rearing another direction to try to prove to you about LeBron Jordan, they do simple mistakes like this and create their own pitfall with Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. And you can't shut the door because Emmitt Smith he's the leading rusher in the NFL. Let's do the math here. Emmitt Smith is the leading rusher, played 22 seasons. Now, the last 9-10 seasons of his career was a decline. But 22 seasons compared to Barry's 10 seasons, and he was going to break Walter Payton's record in 10 seasons with 1,048 yards left to get it that season. Emmitt didn't break it until, I believe, when he was 15-16 years down the line, when the Cowboys weren't relevant anymore. So if Barry was going to do that within 10 and it took Emmitt 16, and also Emmitt had more opportunities, more carries, played with 64 Pro Bowlers, Barry played with 29 Pro Bowlers. What does that tell you about Barry's level of play? He was more consistent with lesser talent and did it against better defenses too. That's what people forget as well. And the Barry haters, or the guys who are highlight fans, will always say, well, he didn't do anything in the playoffs. Well, that also goes back to the talent that's around him. Running back is a luxury. Quarterback is a necessity. And if you look at the quarterbacks that Barry played with, the top tier defenses that he never had. He was the main focal point. And when you go against other teams in the playoffs that are elite defenses, I'm sorry, as good as Barry was, he couldn't do it all by himself. Look at the consistency that Emmett had around him of Pro Bowlers with Troy Aikman as his quarterback. Emmett, 18,000 plus rushing career yards. Barry, 15. So 22 seasons, you're only up by Barry by 3,000 more yards. It's the same thing that highlight fans like to bring with John Elway and Brett Favre. Brett Favre has all the records, you know, Peyton Manning broke a couple of them, but does that mean it's it's a shut case when it's Brett Favre when he has more yards than John Elway? John Elway is a far better quarterback, did more with less, got to Super Bowls he had no business being against with less talent, and didn't make those bonehead mistakes that Brett Favre made. And the one that sticks out to me against the Vikings, when everybody piped up how much of a great season he had, and he had a great season, but I kept saying that year, when you need him the most, he will let you down, he will disappoint you, he will make the crucial mistake. And he made the most basic, crucial mistake in the game against the Saints. Don't rely on ESPN, because they're garbage when it comes to football and basketball. You have NBA TV and NFL Network. Highlight fans are the worst because they don't rely on facts. They rely on highlights. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I educated you. Share it, spread the word. The links will be in the description.